What if Chicago just solved the ugliest down in football without a blockbuster trade or a neon headline? Picture the chains on 3rd and 8, the breath held in 60,000 chests, and a wideout who treats panic like a math problem answer key included. That's the energy today. Tim Patrick in navy and orange, a grown man target who makes tight windows look generous and contested catches feel routine. If your heartbeat just clicked into a steadier rhythm, you're in the right place. Tap subscribe. Drop your first reaction for Bears News Fan Report. And let's break down why this move turns anxiety into architecture. Start with the geometry. Chicago's passing game has speed that threatens and roots that slice. What it has craved is a reliable hinge that swings open precisely when the room gets crowded. Patrick is that hinge. He's not the fireworks at the end of the street. He's the streetlight that never flickers. Boundary comebacks with ruthless depth discipline. Slants thrown on time where his frame becomes a shield. Back shoulders that punish perfect coverage. He wins not because corners are wrong, but because his leverage, pacing, and catch mechanics make right insufficient. And that's how third downs die on the vine for defenses. You play it properly, you still lose the rep. Now put him in Soldier Field's winter syllabus. Condensed splits, stacks to soften press, switch releases to tangle leverage. Chicago can live in those looks all day. DJ Moore scares safeties into playing honest. Romo Dunn stretches the field with stride and timing. Patrick parks himself in the stress point and says, throw it where the DB isn't allowed to be. On Dagger, he's the patient dig that arrives exactly when the post has bent the middle. On spacing, he's the sat-nav fine grass, present numbers. Save the series. On scramble drill, he works back downhill like he's tied to the quarterback by invisible thread. These are highlights designed for social. They're habits designed for January. Red zone. That's where his personality gets loud. You can ISO him into the boundary and ask for a fade with late hands. You can stack him behind a speed guy and win the release. You can run slant flat and trust he'll sell the slant like a lie he's practiced since high school. When windows shrink to postcard size, receivers either shrink with them or expand the quarterback's confidence. Patrick expands it. He turns 50-50 into 60-40. And over a season, those tiny percentages become points you remember in the standings, not in your stomach. There's a timing language here that helps a young passer. Caleb doesn't need mythology. He needs punctuation. Patrick gives commas, periods, and exclamation points on command. The stem holds just long enough to freeze a corner's hips. The plan arrives at the same depth every snap. The hands flash late to protect the ball from a rival time violence. That lets a rookie throw on schedule shoulders level, ball out, drive intact. And when the coverage wins, the play isn't dead. His catch radius and body control resurrected. Boring throws turn into applause lines. That's development by repetition, not by rescue. You want physical? He blocks like it pays full price, and in Chicago it does. Crack on a support safety. Dig out a nickel who thinks he's a linebacker. Stalk on perimeter screens until the second effort breaks the sideline open. That has ripple effects coaches can measure. Wide zone looks cleaner when the edge is sealed. Bubbles become semi-trucks when the forced defender gets escorted out of frame. A defense that hates tackling in the cold hates it more when the receivers make every snap taste like mouthguard plastic. Let's talk menu expansion for Shane Waldron. With Patrick, you can live in bunch, force off coverage, and run the hole. Tree without changing personnel. Mesh becomes a religion rub without drawing flags. Shallow cross with a pick at legal distance. Sit in the void and turn upfield with shoulder-first violence. Mills becomes a lie detector post for the shot. Dig underneath when the safety panics. Yankee off hard play action. He can be the intermediate crosser, the backside glance, or the emergency outlet who understands spacing like a geometry teacher. With a whistle. The playbook gets bigger without getting heavier, and this is a rivalry move with a message. You take sure hands and chain-moving poise from within the division, and you don't whisper about it. You let every NFC North meeting feel the theft. Detroit built inevitability. Green Bay polished precision. Minnesota leaned into clever. Chicago must be inevitable and correct and clever. And that's what a veteran receiver with grown-up timing buys you. On Film Monday, coordinators hate players who erase good coverage with better technique. Patrick is that frustration in cleats, but let's not cosplay as press officers. As of this minute, there isn't a Hollis Hall photo with a pen and paper smile or a caption that makes it granted. What there is logic stacked neatly, a roster that benefits from a big body possession target, a scheme that prizes leverage literacy, and a quarterback who wins faster when his receivers make on-time, on-target more than a coaching clinic slogan. Agents and cap folks will do their dance. Football gravity is doing its own. If those vectors meet like they should, ink follows truth. That's not fairy dust. That's fit. Zoom back into the WR room. DJ Moore is the problem defenses already have. O'Dunn's is the problem they'll grow to fear. Patrick is the problem that cleans up the messes created by the first two problems. He doesn't steal meals. He sets the table. 3rd and 6 becomes a coin that flips more often on your side because he's a professional listener. He hears leverage, feels zones, reads body weight. Young wideouts learn by watching when he throttles down just before contact to protect the throw, then reaccelerates through the catch to steal YAC like a pickpocket in plain sight. 2-minute drill is where veteran poise pays interest. Sideline. Comebacks where the feet whisper while the hands shout. Toe taps that ignore weather and guilt defenders into looking at the official, not their coach. Middle field sit routes that magnetize the ball, then a violent quarter turn that robs the tackler of angles. Clock-friendly, timeout-saving, confidence-preserving plays. That's how end-of-half field goals turn into end-of-half touchdowns. That's how end-of-game dread turns into the simple expectation that the next snap will be enough. Let's write down some specific calls, because this is a chalkboard channel. 3rd and 7 versus match quarters. Go 3-by-1. Put Patrick as the backside. X, run the slant with a split that threatens fade, and make the corner pick a funeral. Red zone versus aggressive man. Stack him with a speed Z. Switch release, inside foot back, diamond the stem and snap to a quick out ball upfield shoulder. Touchdown or the kind of DPI that makes fans clap with their teeth. Early down play action. Deep over from O'Dunn's pulls the middle. Patrick runs the sit at 12 and settles where linebackers used to be 2nd and 2. Your whole playbook is available, including the run that makes the fourth quarter shorter for the opponent. Durability. Usage business. Let's be adults. Structure the deal with incentives tied to snaps and wins, not wishful thinking. Manage pitch count early, ramp to peak in November, and treat Wednesday like it matters as much as Sunday. This isn't about making him a WR1 or forcing targets. It's about giving the offense a metronome that never breaks tempo. If he's your third read who becomes your first decision when leverage says so, that's a winning ecosystem, not an ego trap. Defense benefits too. 12-play drives where the third conversion is a 9-yard curl. That looks humble on the stat sheet and looks like a folding chair for the other team's willpower. Time of possession isn't a trophy, but it is a weapon. When your defense plays angrier with oxygen in their lungs, Chicago has built a front that likes violence. Violence gets sharper when the offense buys rest with routine, not with rescue missions. Weather keeps coming up because this city insists. Wind turns hero ball into horror. It also turns possession artistry into Sunday scripture. A receiver who can box out, catch late, and turn his shoulder into a shield is the antidote for gusts that mock timing. The throws get a yard shorter and a second earlier. The ball leaves with conviction. The sticks move with indifference to breeze. Cold rewards craft. Patrick is craft. There is also the quiet psychology of trust. A young quarterback scans, sees a veteran whose body language says yes, and lets it rip with no ghost in his elbow. A coordinator calls a concept knowing the landmark will be hit, not approximated. A line pass protects knowing the ball's going out on 3, not 4.5. That is how fences become identities when the smallest promises get kept. So often they stop being noticed and start being assumed. Okay, let's play the what-if game, because this league lives on pivots. What if the fences clamp down on DJ Moore with 2 bodies? Patrick's the lever you pull. What if opponents live? In simulated pressure to crowd the windows. He's the pressure valve hot route literacy, settle in spot throws, hit it, move on. What if they dare you to be patient in a world addicted to explosives? He is patience with a paycheck. And when patience bores them into a single high mistake, that's when O'Dunn's puts a memory on the scoreboard. This move, if it becomes a contract, is not about headlines. It's about hand placement at the catch point, about feet at the boundary, about leaning through contact like the ball owes you a favor. It says Chicago is building a passing game that can survive bad weather, bad whistles, and good defenses. It says the offense will not blink on 3rd down. It says the huddle has a grown-up voice that sounds like calm, not crisis. So Bears Nation, give me your adjustments. Do you want Patrick as the backside X in 3x1 on money downs, or do you like him inside in 2x2 where he can bully nickels and read zones? Are you pairing him with crossers or living on high-lows? What's your favorite? Red zone stack to free his release without writing a pick on the stat sheet? Get specific in the comments. This channel lives on chalk dust and coffee breath. And because we keep it honest, until there's a signature and a step and repeat backdrop, this is the kind of move you speak about with strong verbs and clear. Caveats. The fit is textbook. The need is obvious. The timeline sings the same chorus. If leverage meets logic, Chicago gets a receiver who doesn't need 10 targets to own the moment. He needs the right one. If business zigs, the standard doesn't zag. Either way, our identity keeps sharpening around a truth that winters can't erase. On the downs that used to bruise, the Bears will now choose. Tim Patrick makes that choice smarter, meaner, and most importantly, repeatable. Subscribe, strap in, and bring your 3rd down call sheet. January isn't going to wait for anyone, but with this move, it might have to wait for us.